Somebody has a Theta shirt on, I see over there. Theta, does anybody have any Theta? Raise your hand if you have Theta. Bravo to you. Hang on to that little sucker. Yes, riding the ups and downs of cryptocurrencies is heart-wrenching until you've done it. Like, this is my third wave I've been through. Yes, Bitcoin will continue to rise. It will go over $1 million, like the long-time predictions I've said. Except at the bottom, when everybody should be buying, everybody gets scared. And at the top, very few people sell. But these are rigged markets. You got to remember that. Our government is in there rigging these markets. The head of the SEC is a guy named Gary Gensler. Now, Gary Gensler was just appointed. He was the head of the CFTC when J.P. Morgan was rigging silver. Now he's the head of the SEC. He specifically was put there because of his knowledge of cryptocurrencies. The U.S. government and every government on the planet knows everything is going to cryptocurrencies. Everything. Not the ones most of the ones you see. They're going to want to control it all. But they know it's coming. Cryptocurrencies are like gold and silver. They're global. Whatever the United States says doesn't mean everybody in the world is going to listen. As a matter of fact, these days, not many people listen to us. So just keep that in mind. I think Gary Gensler is both good and bad for cryptos. Good in that he understands what they are instead of some of the congressmen just saying, no, we can't have cryptos. If the United States banned cryptos, we would be a third world country in a matter of months. Cryptos are the future, and any banker can keep fighting it if you want to, but it's not going to stop it. They were invented. Not all of them are good, by the way. I would say the most majority are not good and bad. But many of them are good. Theta is one that I highly recommend. It's a software company, really. It's the future of the internet, and if you like the internet, you better look into Theta. It's a way to share broadband. So instead of every country spending trillions of dollars on infrastructure to build out their broadband, Sony or Samsung could download a program onto every smart device they have, and they can run an edge node, which shares broadband. It solves the problem. It's an easy fix. But that hasn't happened yet. And it might. It might soon, I think. All right. Next question. Yes, we got a microphone coming.
Yeah, so this is a Bitcoin question.
All right, bring it.
So I hear Michael Saylor talking about how the network's getting stronger and more secure.
He used to say that.
Well, he just had a tweet like a day or two ago, giving some percentages
well,
about
he
that.
bet pretty big on it.
But I also hear that the miners are consolidating. So in my mind, I'm trying to reconcile, well, doesn't miners consolidating increase the risk of a 51% attack?
Yes and no. It's more like 60% attack would be needed because of the time it would take. Andreas Antonopoulos did a big talk on that. But yes, if you a 51% attack is 51% of the miners try to move cryptos to another place. Most likely those 51% would like the power, control, and money that they have by having 51%. But people in cryptos are paranoid beyond belief, and they should be. So yes, the concentration does increase the possibility of a 51% attack. What Andreas was talking about is, as you see the concentration coming, you can fork off and change Bitcoin. And then people will decide, do you want to be in a fully concentrated chain or this other chain that is not concentrated? That's one possibility. I don't see it happening just because people can't agree on a lot of things in cryptos, obviously. But I think Bitcoin was an amazing invention, but a lot of people have moved on way beyond Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the first, so it has that first mover power, but it's the most expensive. It's the slowest. It's got all these problems, and there's some great cryptocurrencies and blockchains that have solved those problems. Absolutely, I'd rather have Bitcoin Cash than Bitcoin. And it's priced at a fraction of what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin became hard to use because the core developers were amazed at the invention that they had and the wealth that they had, and then they kind of got taken over by certain people, and the idea was turn Bitcoin into a store of value when it originally from Satoshi was a peer-to-peer money system. God knows we need that more than a store of value. We have gold. You don't need another store of value, but Bitcoin will do fine because it was the first mover. I'm not worried about a 51% attack. But if you are, there's a lot of great blockchains out there. Theta, for example. Theta is like Ethereum on steroids. And yet it's priced at, what was it, $1.30 today or something ridiculous? And Samsung's in there, Google's in there, Sony's in there. All the big names are in there who know what's coming. And pretty soon Apple will start a validator node on Theta, Netflix, because it saves them money. And oh, by the way, it's fast, it's cheap, and it solves all the problems that Ethereum has been trying to solve since day one and can't get their head around how to do it. So that's my take, but I don't know anybody in Bitcoin who really studies it, and you really need like a crazy mathematician type for that question to explain why a 51% attack really wouldn't make sense, but it is possible, and that's the biggest threat to Bitcoin. The threat of being declared illegal is not a threat, because every country will say just laugh at whatever country makes it illegal, and then because they'll lose. I think everybody knows that by now. You can't live a crypto war your way. You can live, you can be your own bank. It's not easy, but it's going to be harder to not know this stuff than it is to learn it right now. I have friends who just get into cryptos and they're like, oh my God, this is so hard. It's just impossible. When I got into cryptos, there was no Coinbase, there was no exchanges. You had to mine your own coins on your computer, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I lost more Bitcoin than I ever owned. That's the sad thing. Because in the early days, it's like you click one mouse, it's like, oh, where'd that go? All my money's gone. Now there's a million different ways to store it and keep it safe. And does anybody have cryptos here? About half? Anybody who didn't put their hand up, you're going to put your hand up in 5 years. You might as well start now. Everybody will be dealing in cryptocurrencies probably by next year, if the banks continue their little wobble. So I'm just saying.
Can you explain wallets?
Sure. A wallet is it's the most important part of the cryptocurrencies. It's a way to cryptographically secure your coins. And your coins are, basically it's a ledger. It's a place on a ledger. Like at a bank today, they have a ledger of all your transactions. When you make a deposit, say you join JP Morgan Chase, for example, and you give them $100 to start a checking account. After they charge you $10 for checks and all of the stuff they charge you, you have a certain amount in their ledger. When you do a transaction, that ledger is recorded at the JP Morgan blockchain ledger. I wouldn't say it's a blockchain because they're the ones who record it, and they'll tell you what you have and what you don't have. And if you balance your checkbook, you can keep them in check. Well, Bitcoin is a way to do that without a bank behind it. It's a whole bunch of people with balances on that ledger book that trade back and forth to each other without the bank, without the middleman, without JP Morgan taking fees, and without JP Morgan taking that money and investing it in some crazy derivative to try to make a lot of money and rigging markets. Cryptocurrencies take out the banks. BYOB, be your own bank. And there's good ones and there's bad ones. And there's a lot of scams out there. So it's tough, but it's not impossible to take care of yourself and your own finances. If you're not comfortable with cryptocurrencies, I highly recommend getting some physical silver. Questions, raise your hand. There we got one right over here.
I got the mic, so I guess I got to get it.
Oh, there we go.
So, you're saying how derivatives are the way they manipulate these markets. It's one of the main ways, right?
Yes.
So, what's your thoughts on futures markets and cryptos? It seems like they're just doing the same thing there.
Absolutely.
So how do we get rid
Give
of
the
that?
man a prize.
How do we get rid of it?
You don't really, actually, most of the rigging in the crypto markets are done at the exchange level. Like Binance. Binance is the largest exchange in the world. It's controlled by basically the Chinese government. They aren't real, exchanges aren't real anymore. There aren't real assets that trade. The silver market is all derivatives. It means something other than silver is being traded. Back in the old days, if you want to go to an exchange and buy some silver, you walk up with $1 and somebody had an ounce of silver and you buy that ounce of silver. Today, you walk up with a computer to a computer screen with 100 million trades going off in milliseconds, mainly through this company called Virtu Financial, which is one of the authorized participants in SLV, the silver ETF. But none of the exchanges are real, and crypto exchanges aren't real either. And the bankers want to get derivatives, they want to derivatize everything in cryptos. And they're doing their best to do that because they control that. That's how they control humanity. Through derivatives, through their electronic money system, they want to keep control. And the same with governments. Governments and the bankers work hand in hand. As soon as like a government person comes to you and say, oh, we're going to take out the bankers, ask them to see who has contributed to their campaign. And I'll guarantee you the biggest contributors are the bankers. So yeah, we got a lot of things to do to shape up the crypto markets, the stock market, the bond market. They're all rigged 100% every day. And if we want to return to a free market and have freedom in America again, we got to get rid of these old systems.
Okay, so
Theta.
Can you buy it on
Okay, yeah.
a USA?
Yes. So Theta for a long time was not available, but now Theta is available on a U.S. exchange. It's on Binance.us. Binance.us. Yes, it's from Binance, the shady Chinese company. I don't trust any of these exchanges, but it is available. My only advice is when you buy it, get it off the exchange as fast as possible. Get it into your own wallet. We do have a Theta page on our private road that teaches you how to do that.
I have a quick question on, I have a Trezor wallet.
Okay.
And feel a little insecure about how Theta is stored on that. So it seems like my real wallet's off in the ether, but yet I still have it on my Trezor. Is that going to change, or can I feel comfortable with that, or?
You can feel comfortable. They made the change they needed to make. The problem that why Trezor won't support Theta and the Theta Labs team has to build a bridge to that is because it uses the exact same language as Ethereum. So if you send a Theta token to an Ethereum wallet, it's on the Ethereum wallet for good if you don't have the key to get it off. And that confused Trezor, but Theta invented the bridge, and then that kind of fell apart, and then they had to reinvent the bridge. So yeah, it is absolutely safe because as long as you control your seed phrase for your Trezor, the words that you wrote down right at the beginning, you still have that? Nod your head like this if you still have.
I have it.
Okay. As long as you control that and nobody has your password, yes, it is still safe. You can get it off now. They did fix it if you wanted to. I keep mine on Trezor and Ledger. Those I think are the safest. There is a safer way if you made paper wallets on a computer that's never seen the internet and a printer that's never seen the internet, and you didn't go through Wi-Fi and all that with a paper wallet. But you couldn't stake it from a paper wallet without bringing it back online, and that's where the risk is. I mean, I've gone down like so many different scenarios where people can steal cryptos from me that Trezor and the Ledger are your safest bet.
Well, another really quick one. I thought I heard you mention that we're seeing the prices drop quite a bit on cryptos. I thought I heard you mention that it can get down to a point where they're so low, you might not even be able to buy them.
It could go to -40 like oil did.
But you wouldn't, even if you wanted to, you wouldn't have the ability to buy them at that point?
No. And we see it all the time when the final crypto crash comes. they'll slam it down with derivatives and all that, and the exchanges will shut down, or I mean, they'll be closed for maintenance, is what they call it. All of a sudden, the price crashes and everything is closed for maintenance. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. But yeah, I think the ultimate crash, when the banks go, there won't be any exchanges open. So you won't even know the price of your silver or your cryptos or anything. You just got to get in your mind that these exchanges, the numbers they put out there are not real. They're fake. And yeah, you can cash them in for that because other people believe in the fake numbers right now. But after the banks crash, whenever they crash, and they will, I mean, they have 2 quadrillion in derivatives that are going sideways right now. I heard that BlackRock, that criminal banking institution that runs our federal government, lost $1.7 trillion in the first half of this year. The largest loss of any entity in history. 1.7 trillion. And they said, oh yeah, we had a bad quarter. It's like, what? That's the largest loss out of anybody. You know, Enron, or you name the big explosions over time. This by far eclipses that. So if BlackRock goes, and they're the ones who are running the book for the Fed right now on the U.S. Treasuries and all that, if they're going to go, there's nothing left. So, we'll see. They've managed to kick the can since 1913. We'll see how much longer that lasts.